hope you can't see my knickers. So I was thinking about the authenticity challenge, and what I've been thinking is, am I doing the authenticity challenge, or have I accidentally been doing a transparency challenge? And it's not that transparency isn't a part of authenticity, but I think it's really important to get clear on what authenticity is. So I just did a little Google search. Not that I didn't know what authenticity was before I started, but just to kind of reaffirm, also for anyone watching the challenge, and for us to get really clear about what does authenticity mean, because the challenge is to find out, is it even possible or safe to be authentic all the time in every different area of your life with every different people that you meet? Like, is it even safe? Is it even possible? I think we don't even realize when we're playing roles or putting masks on. I mean, if you think about a first date, if you think about a first date, I don't think anyone's quite themselves. You're kind of like the best version of yourself, the most polished version, or I don't know. And I think sometimes what we do, she said my shoes. I think sometimes what we do, she's like, yeah, great shoes. I think sometimes what we do is we try and second guess what we think the other person wants us to be. Like who, we kind of make the assumption of who the best version of ourselves is. When actually the people that you love, and I've probably said this before in the old challenges, like the people that love you the most, love your smelly, eggy farts. Well, maybe don't love them, but they don't, it's not like they hate you because of that. They've seen you, in your worst pants that you probably shouldn't even own anymore. They've seen you in your daggy pajamas. They've seen you having a fit and a tantrum, being really angry. They've seen you being really mean. They see you when you wimp out of things. They see you when you're, they see you in every way. But because they love you, those things about you, they just make them love you more. Like the people who know you the most, love you the most, and they know more about you. And yet, as one of my followers, Samuel, wrote in one of the questions in one of the other videos, he's like, he was asking, or he was saying that he sometimes feels that the kind of energy and effort required for getting to know someone kind of puts him off because he doesn't know if that investment's going to be worth it. And I mean, isn't that interesting? And you can kind of understand it in this world because people, I find, are so transient. They're so afraid of real deep intimacy. A lot of people kind of stay on the surface of banter with their friends and talking about everyone else but themselves and their lives and what's really going on. So they're talking about Trump and Brexit and whatever, but actually not many people really talk about the deeper meaningful. And I'm not saying that everyone wants to stay stuck in wounds, etc., but I don't know. You can't really get to know someone unless you're willing to open. And the thing is, it's hard to be your authentic self if you have loads of experiences of not feeling safe. I've had loads of experiences when maybe someone's opened up to me at the beginning, made me feel really, really safe. And I thought, wow, this person's really vulnerable, etc. And I don't know if they were using that to kind of, get me into bed, or whether actually it's just at the beginning when you meet someone, you do feel safe, you do feel free, because often, you've probably noticed, you can feel more safe with a stranger than you can with your own wife, husband, boyfriend, mother, father, etc. Because there's no risk to lose from being authentic with that person. There's no risk from being really open and free because you kind of know you're not going to see them again. So when we first meet someone, sometimes we're just really relaxed and open and honest. And it's as time goes on that we start to shut ourselves down. So yeah, it's a complicated one. So here on Google it says, being authentic means coming from a real place within. It is when our actions and words are congruent with our beliefs and values. It is being ourselves, not an imitation of what we think we should be or have been told we should be. Okay, so I have to be seriously honest with you, and I'm going to try and do this without flashing my pants. I have to be seriously honest with you. I haven't felt especially safe this time in the challenge to be free and to be myself. And the reason why it was so easy before was because when I started the Authenticity Challenge all that time ago, I only told 3 or 4 people, and I literally just did my usual morning routine. You know the story, and I did the warm oil massage, and then suddenly I had like 1,000 followers, and I didn't do that deliberately or intentionally. I literally was just doing what I normally did in my routine. And so I just felt safe, to be honest, to be completely free. I didn't know who was watching. That didn't seem to bother me. In fact, I felt more safe sharing I didn't tell my friends. I only told the one friend that told me to set up the challenge and someone else who I know wouldn't judge me. But everyone else, to be honest, was a complete stranger, and I felt completely safe. And this time what's happening is I am feeling like I don't feel free 100% to really reveal my real self. There's 2 reasons for that. Number one is that I'm setting up a business as a mentor and a coach. And so it seems to be conflicting because there is this kind of conceived perception of how a coach must be, and you probably see all the pictures where they're like on their laptops and blah 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 and drinking a cup of tea and all that kind of thing. It's all very businessy and worky, and we're in the role of leader and expert, you know, and we already have these preconceived ideas. So everyone kind of puts themselves out in that kind of sense. And also there are different sides of me, you know, and I have different areas within my different projects and initiatives where I get to express different sides of me. The Authenticity Challenge is supposed to be that safe place where I really can be quite free. However, because of what happened last time on YouTube, someone was following. They made a very, very sexually suggestive comment that really triggered me on that particular day. I commented back. They didn't like what I said. They started being rude and swearing. I made a video on how I really want my followers to be engaged and commenting, but also, you know, I'm a real thing. Like, I'm a human. I'm not an object to just throw shit at or to take from. You know, it's like I'm a living, breathing human, and I expect you to treat me with as much love and care as you would treat your own kid or your own girlfriend or yourself, you know? And yeah, and so that's why one of the things in the comments I always say, or I've said at the very beginning on the first day of the challenge, was, you know, if you're not really sure about posting, just ask yourself, is it necessary and is it kind? Just because you're behind the screen and you're like, you know, I can just throw my shit at this woman because, like, you know, I'm never going to see her anyway, etc. Who knows? You know, like, yeah, I don't think that's cool. So anyway, because of that, this guy basically just, you know, contributed, as far as we know. We don't know if this is 100% true, but he even said what he was going to do. So he basically just started causing, you know, flagging all my videos, and so the channel came down. And so now there's the fear. A lot of people are talking about boobs and asking me if the boobs are coming out, etc. And again, it's like, I'll leave that for another video, but because of the actions of that person and the getting the real sense of authenticity. What does authenticity mean? We weren't born in these outfits, you know. We didn't come with bras, you know. We came out naked, And the problem is that the word naked is being perverted by people's perversity that's come from people's guilt and shame, which was created either in the religions and the church. And we've recently seen what's come out with the Catholic Church and how many children have been abused. And so all that secrecy, that shaming of the sexuality, the repressing of the sexuality resulted in a lot of perversions of sexuality. Let me just click this machine. I never know when that happens, if the video completely disappears or what. Yeah, so any suppression is resulting in us not being able to be our free selves. And so we try and get the fix we need kind of under the radar, and we're not able to be free about it. So one of the things I wanted with the Authenticity Challenge is all those parts of ourselves that have been shamed, that we bring them to light and we talk about them. And I swear, I know so many people who are married, men and women, but mostly guys, feel safe to talk to me about what's going on in their relationship. And generally what they say is that, you know, the sex just ain't happening. You know, it's just not the kind of throw down middle of the day sex that they want. It's maybe the kind of, you know, just before bedtime sex, you know. Yeah, and the thing is, the women aren't expressing what they need and what they want, and the men aren't expressing what they need and they want. And I don't know why, but it's people suddenly get into the whole marriage thing, and it's as if they can't share that. I don't know whether they suddenly start treating their wife like their mother or something, or maybe they feel in a weird way like they're trying to protect them from any kind of pain, so they don't want to share the truth. This is the bizarre thing. You know, we try and protect people from their own pain and kind of sacrifice our own needs. And then we're in like this massive tangle of a mess, because then one day someone just suddenly goes, fuck it, I've had it, and leaves. And the other person's like, what the hell? Like, because everything comes down to communication. And so I guess why transparency and authenticity in this challenge have been maybe getting confused or overlapped is because for me, my authentic self is about honesty and truth, right? And like it says, you got to have your values and beliefs lined up with your words and actions. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure that YouTube's values, from what I can gather from the channel, is really in line with mine because of coming down before, you know, I don't know who the audience is, etc. I feel like it's not quite safe to be me, or I don't feel like I have permission to be myself exactly. And because of that, yeah, like that's what's kind of happening. And I don't want it to be like that. And I know that we're making the move to Patreon, and this thing on YouTube is essentially only temporary until we can get over to Patreon and get patrons and actually add way more content. I've got so much more up my sleeve than just the Authenticity Challenge. But the Authenticity Challenge is an important conversation. You know, the less we are our real selves and the more fake we become, the more depression there is, the more loneliness there is. It's just how it is. I see everyone struggling to be honest about being themselves because they don't think they'll be accepted. And of course they would think that way. I mean, have you been on Instagram lately? And don't get me wrong, you know, I love to like get into a photo shoot, or, you know, everyone loves to do that. It's fun. Or not everyone. Some people hate having their photo taken, but like, I love that shit. You know, I've done photo shoots, like underwater in pools. I've done naked photo shoots like I did for my exhibition, Vulnerability is the New Courage. We're maybe bringing out a book of nudes of This Is Suze, based on the exhibition with stories about the exhibition and why it happened and the photographer. I think that'd be really awesome. So if you're interested in that, that's definitely going to be part of one of the Patreon things. Let me know in the comments, because obviously I need to know if there's any interest in these things before I make them. But I've lost my train of thought. Got distracted. Vulnerability. Oh, I don't know. Just so many thoughts. Yeah. Maybe that was where it's meant to end. Oh, my two cats are so cute. I have another one here. I can't see. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm excited about this subject. I'm passionate about this subject of authenticity. Yeah, I was saying about depression and loneliness. It does. It really does. Like, this is why this conversation is so important. I meet so many people all the time that are like, yeah, oh yeah, that's what I was saying about Instagram. It's like, yes, there's a place for that modeling, posing thing, but it's an act. It's an act. It's just making pretty pictures, right? It's just making pretty pictures. It's not real life. And that's why it's important to watch people like Peter Kelly. I think she goes under the name as Peter Jean or something on Instagram. She's an entrepreneur who's only 30 and is like making millions. And then there's Amanda Palmer and the Brené Browns as well, and these kind of people who are being authentic as much as possible. And it's really challenging because some of us want a place where we can actually look pretty. You know, we don't want to look like we just got out of bed all the time because, you know, part of myself loves dressing up. I love going out and dressing up and feeling good and everything. That's, you know, it's fine that I want those things. But if we never feel like we can be ourselves, if we never feel like we can just let our hair down, not that I've got any hair to let down, but you know what I mean? Like, even just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's possible to do this all the time because people are so committed to the roles they don't even know they're in them. And I know there's a lot of people that haven't woke from the matrix yet, so they won't even know what I'm talking about. But when you do, or if you do, you'll suddenly go, oh my goodness, yeah, like I'm living in this little box with my 2.4 kids and my like ticky-tacky box, and we're all in our ticky-tacky boxes and this whole thing, and you're just like, yeah, it's like one giant treadmill where it's really hard to be your authentic self. It's really hard to be unique because there's so much fear. I mean, if you think about our childhoods and the conditioning, we've been conditioned to basically shame our sexuality, okay? Like, yeah, everything about sex is now like, ooh, or it's like jokes, or it's like, you know, it's never just like, you know, people just being like, yeah, I love sex. You know, and it's like guys are allowed to do that, and the ones that aren't getting enough sex or not being able to actually just really speak out and just say how things are in a really honest way without having to keep a secret, you know, those people are ending up having to getting their needs in a kind of sneaky way, or feeling like they have to take, you know, because they're afraid to actually ask to have their needs met, etc. Like, yeah, it just gets really icky and uncomfortable and gross, actually. I mean, if you watch your animals, like, I've never really seen my cat Lucy do it, but Marvin, he'll like purr and he'll get his claws all over my like velvet dressing gown, you know, and he'll just start friggin' rubbing himself, you know what I mean? He's not there going, oh my God, this is so shameful, like, oh my God, I can't, you know. He doesn't like go into a corner or like hide somewhere and do it. He's just like, you know, I'm me, this is me, I'm in touch with myself, and this is what I feel like doing right now because it feels pleasurable. And that's literally how he is. He doesn't afterwards feel ashamed or have regret, not that I can see. He never looks like he does about anything like that. He just gets his needs met. But as humans, because of all this crap that we've been told, it's really hard to be ourselves. It's really, really, really hard. So everyone needs to be polished. Everyone's fucking edited. Everyone's filtered as fuck. It's like, you know? Okay, wow, that was a long video. So yeah, this is the challenge. Is it even possible to be authentic? I think it's a necessity. I think if we stop being authentic, if we allow ourselves to become filtered as fuck all the time in our words, in our appearance, in our actions, because there's no point pretending that you're being in line with your integrity if it's really just an act because you want to be perceived a certain way when you're out in public, and then as soon as you come home, you like, you know, take off your suit and like you know what I mean? Like, and all your vileness kind of comes out, you know. And then when you see that person ever being vile, you're like, oh my goodness, you know, I thought you were like this. And it's like, yeah, because they were only portraying that role, you know. We've got these, like, you know, masks on all the time. It's like, I know. I don't know. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with that.